Hi, and welcome to this week's solo episode of the Guest List podcast. I'm your host, Steve Guest, and this is the first day back in the office for me. I've spent the last 7 days sunning myself in Ibiza, which has been amazing. Some much needed family time. We were out there for a family wedding, so got to spend 7 days with friends and family. It's been a really, really nice, chilled time, creating memories, lots of sun, sea, sand, and sangria, and good food, good weather, and just some genuine good holiday times with lots of fun, lots of banter, lots of conversation. And I think the biggest thing for me about holidays always they're always in place as a kind of, I suppose, a certain milestone or a flag in the ground, because I try and cram so much into my working days, Monday to Friday, and quite often weekends, that I look forward to the holidays because I've learned now to actually take them as holiday, and to do very little work and to try and switch off as much as possible, which is really difficult. And I have struggled with that in the past. But it is genuine downtime. And I think what it does, I have a lot of time to contemplate, a lot of time to think. You get that, I suppose, that personal space away from work. And they say you need to take time away to work on your business and not in your business. And I don't think you ever genuinely really appreciate it until you actually decide to take time out and think about what's important, think about where you're heading and what you're going to try and do. What are you looking to achieve? Are you heading in the right direction? Are you doing all the things that you want to do? And I had many an afternoon or morning lying on a sunbed in the blaring heat, watching the kids play in the pool, and just start to think about what are the plans, what's the next milestone, what am I heading towards, what's the business going to do over the coming days, weeks, months, and years. And I think that downtime gives you greater clarity, allows you to focus, allows you to reset and actually assess where you're heading, and if you're along the right path. And also start to think about the goals and the targets and the plans that you've set. And you might be listening to this thinking, well, that's not you really switching off. That's you still having a thought process as to the business itself. But the difference is you're not doing the day-to-day doing. You're actually thinking much more strategically. And for me, it's exciting to have these thoughts, because you start to kind of have other plans that come in place. You might think of things that were part of your thought process 6 months ago, 12 months ago, last year, whenever it might be, and you've got distracted because the day jobs took over. And as you may know, every year, every Christmas, I sit down and put goals aside and targets, and I work towards them every 12 months. And quite often, some of them will fall off. I never achieve them, and they get forgotten about. And some of them, at the time, I might think are too big and you're never going to be able to achieve them. But things change over a period of months, quarters, years, as we all know, particularly in sales. You have a good month, you have a good quarter, you have a good half year. It can reset and make you think slightly differently. And I talk a lot with my oldest, Ethan, who's now 10, which might seem, he's still a child, he's 10 years old, but talking to him, you'd think he's been around for years, and he's been in business for years. He's a very entrepreneurial, motivated individual, and I love having our chats, and we do have them quite a lot. And we were talking by the pool, and he said, "Dad, when I'm older, I think I'm gonna have a phrase tattooed on my body." I was like, "Okay." I said, Ethan, you're 10. You don't need to be thinking about tattoos at your age. But I was quite intrigued. So I said, what's the phrase that you're thinking of? And he said, the phrase is, we will find a way. And I said, Ethan, why would you pick that phrase? Where's that come from? And he said, it's something that you always say to me. And it really struck a chord, because it is something that I say, and it is something, it's a process or a mindset where we've talked earlier on in podcasts about that growth mindset and the ability to find solutions and steer away from perhaps those closed thoughts that say it's not achievable or it's impossible. And I love the fact that this was part of the conversation. I love the sentiment, the idea behind the phrase, because we will find a way always opens up options. It allows for opportunity. And it set my mind in terms of, okay, well, what things have I wrote off over the years? What goals, targets have I thought about that perhaps were years ago, but I'd closed them off at the time because perhaps my mindset wasn't the same as it is now. And it starts to get you excited again, starts to get you motivated and re-energized. And just really excited to get back into the office today, because I've got a whole clearer focus in terms of what we're going to do, what we're going to set out to achieve. Now, those goals and targets aren't something I'm going to share on a podcast episode, but it's just having that thought process. And I wanted to share that moment to you, because if you're sat there listening to this, you're on your drive to work, you're on your commute, or perhaps you're at a point where you're feeling nothing's going your way and you need that little bit of motivation and that thought process, it's important to just think, even if you have it as a motto, we will find a way, we'll find a way of achieving or getting the result that you're looking for. Things aren't going well, we'll find a way out of it. Because if you have this mentality, you will always go out there and achieve. And it was a real kind of eye-opener for me, because I do genuinely love the fact that Ethan has this thought process, and that saying, that phrase has meant something to him. Because if you know him, if you've ever spoken to him, you'll know he will always find a way, because he's chief negotiator. He will always find a way to sort a solution for whatever the problem is. And I think many of us can take a really good lesson from that, because quite often we'll stop ourselves in our tracks. We will stop doing the things that actually are getting us closer to our goal, because we'll find an excuse or a reason that stops us and doesn't allow us to carry on in that path. And I thought it'd be a really good idea for a short podcast. The solo podcasts are always a little bit shorter than the interviews, as you'd be aware, but hopefully this has resonated with you, and you'll sit there and think, okay, this is what I want to achieve. How am I going to find that way? So I hope you've enjoyed the listen. I look forward to catching up with you in the next episode. If you have enjoyed the podcast, if you do enjoy listening or watching on YouTube, wherever you might be, please leave a review. Please subscribe. Please share posts if you've got favourite episodes. Tag people, share the links with friends, colleagues, or members of your network. It's all out there to add value, and hopefully it does, and hopefully you take away certain points from each episode every week. So take care, and I will catch up with you soon.